Have you ever gone on a road trip and either it went really well or there was maybe a little bit of a mishap? Or do you have any notable like road trips you've been on?
I don't really like road trips, but I have been on some.
That surprises no one, I would imagine.
It's just too long in the car. I went when I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 maybe. I went to Minnesota and we stopped at Notre Dame, and it was my grandpa, my grandma, me, my sister, and my cousin.
That's very
And
Notre Dame.
and Papa like paid some guy to take us onto the field.
Mm-hmm.
And he also, for years and years and years later, the story was always like, we saw Ron Weasley at Notre Dame because he saw one redheaded kid.
I never heard that.
Oh my God, it was all the time. Oh, and we saw Ron Weasley there. Literally, it was just like kid with red hair.
We can confirm it was not Rupert Grint.
It was not.
Okay.
No, it was not.
Okay.
Yeah, and that road trip was, parts of it were fun, parts of it were not fun.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah. And also he named his dog Rudy, which is a
Yes.
Notre Dame
Yeah.
reference.
And we kept saying he named Rudy after Rudy Huxtable.
Oh, yeah.
And he always was like, no, Rudy's a boy dog. And then,
Rudy was very masculine.
yeah, with the eyelashes.
Yeah, the eyelashes.
And then I did a road trip it was longer than we anticipated, from San Francisco to Los Angeles with my girlfriends. And we like rented a car, but like the car was way too small. And then part of the car was like falling off. So we ended up having to go to a volunteer fire station, and the nice fireman took off the rest of the car. So that was like pretty bad.
Do you remember what kind of car it was?
Yeah, it sounded fancier than it was. It sounded like Camaro or something, but it wasn't like that.
Okay.
Like, it was just
Corolla.
It was like super, just like tiny car. Like, and we had so much luggage. It was not good. It was not good. But and also it was like 16 hours.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be like a 4-hour trip,
Yeah.
and it was not.
It's supposed to be 16 hours, or it
think
ended
it
up
was-
being.
No, I mean, yeah, we had the issue because like the car was falling apart at one point. But then the nice men at the fire station helped us. So then we got back on track.
Yeah. I'm trying to see what Google says it should be around 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah, so
It's about 500 miles.
it's really long. And we ended up having to just like, we went to an In-N-Out afterwards because it was like 9:30 by the time we got to Los Angeles and nothing was open. Not that In-N-Out's bad, but like 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I should be in bed right now.
It's kind of crazy because like there's like clubs and stuff that are open, but it's weird that there's no food, because like New York has stuff that's open.
I mean, we were in Burbank.
Oh, okay. A
So
little
who
different.
knows?
Yeah.
What about you?
My main road trips were, I took 2 to New Orleans in college from New Jersey. They were both 2-day. It was like with a club through school. And we would stop at like a church thing in like South Carolina, like a place like, because it was like the cheapest thing possible. But on the second leg of the trip, we got the like really, really dreary, the dregs of the road trip through the highways of Alabama, Mississippi, Alabama, covered in our movie today.
Yep.
Fortunately, nothing bad happened to me, to the degree that happened to Ralph Macchio and his friend in this in this movie. But I did have really good barbecue there. It's really disconcerting though, because it was like, we were like, all right, let's try to find a place that we can eat, stop for lunch, and it was literally like a shack on the side of the road in Alabama.
Yeah.
And I found it again like years later, but I don't remember the name of it. And it was like really, really off the side of the road. And everything was great. All the food was amazing. But there were a lot of cats in that parking lot. I'm just going to say it. And
Well, of course, because they wanted to eat the barbecue.
because the barbecue was so good.
That's right.
And yeah, no, I mean, it was just great food. And then, you know, you drive into New Orleans, which is a complete madhouse. And there's no longer any rules of the road once you hit New Orleans, which is good when you're when you're barely getting any sleep. And then we would drive back, which was obviously nothing's worse than the drive back.
It's always worse.
No matter where you go.
Always bad.
Like if we're driving an hour and a half, like up to North Jersey even, and then back, that drive back is terrible.
Yeah.
So
especially if I'm the one driving back.
Usually that means that I'm in a position where I'm not able to drive. So I usually am able to deal with it.
The 8 miles an hour.
Yeah. So I guess those are our road trip stories. We don't have great road trip stories. But,
not yet.
But yeah, exactly. Not yet.
So we've officially been sprinkled.
Yeah.
For our new baby boy. We are not sick.
This is our first healthy episode in probably like 3 months.
And the weather's above 60 degrees.
It is.
So it's a good day. A much better weekend than last weekend.
Yeah.
I'm Erin.
I'm Tom.
This is Baby's First Watch List, the podcast where we watch movies to figure out if we want our sons to check them out.
So far, we're 87 for 87.
This week's episode is a classic courtroom flick. It is My Cousin Vinny.
You know, it's funny you use that word because this is the exact type of movie that I would call a flick.
It's a flick.
This is a flick.
Yeah, exactly. 90s flick.
Yes.
This movie, which came out in March 1992, right after baby Thomas was born.
Right after I was born.
Was directed by a Brit. Believe it or not.
Well, I mean, it's so stereotypical that it kind of does make sense that it was somebody outside.
True. Jonathan Lynn, who is also known for directing Clue and The Whole Nine Yards.
Clue makes a lot of sense. I haven't seen The Whole Nine Yards, but Clue
really clicks for me there. It was written by Dale Launer, who honestly did not have much else that he did besides Dirty Rotten Scoundrels in the 80s.
More than the Mighty Ducks guy did.
Yeah, that guy only did the Mighty Ducks. Cinematographer Peter, which listen, I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, not at all.
Doing one thing and being like, listen, I'm the Mighty Ducks guy. Nothing wrong with that. Cinematographer Peter Deming or Deeming, I don't know. He also shot Mulholland Drive.
Really?
Yeah. He did Evil Dead 2.
Wow.
He works a lot with Sam Raimi.
Wow.
And he did some Austin Powers movies. And recently he was the cinematographer for The Menu, which was like buzzy a little bit. A lot of our friends saw it. You know, it's like a whole thing. Editor Stephen Rivkin, he's known for editing the Pirates movies, and he's Oscar nominated for editing Avatar.
Wow.
Yeah. He also did Avatar 2, and I think he's doing Avatar 3.
Oh, I mean, once you stick with Cameron,
you're
going
set
for
places.
life, baby.
The music is by Randy Edelman, who name a movie from the 90s that's kind of silly, and he did it.
I'm looking at it now.
Twins, Ghostbusters 2, Kindergarten Cop, The Mask,
Beethoven.
He's in there. He's in his bag. You've been Edelman. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Starring Joe Pesci, Marisa Tomei, Fred Gwynn in his final role.
RIP.
Before he died. And Ralph Macchio. This movie was conceived by Dale Launer after he was in college and he heard about a guy who failed the bar exam 13 times. He also had an experience of getting caught in the mud driving through the South. And so he kind of combined those things together. He decided to really be serious about it once he had a couple successful screenplays under his belt, like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. And then he's like, all right, let's do My Cousin Vinny. The movie was actually not filmed in Alabama. It was filmed in Georgia.
It's cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. Georgia's it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
With the prison scenes actually being filmed in a real prison with,
I think I did know that with
prisoners as extras, which is interesting. And there's so much casting stuff that I didn't want to step on your toes.
I did some. So you can fill in the blanks if I miss any.
Okay. Yeah. So My Cousin Vinny was a critical and commercial success. It got good reviews, not oh my God, amazing. But it currently has an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, an A- cinema score. And it actually made $64 million on a mere $11 million budget.
I find it kind of interesting that 13% of people didn't like it. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Because-
Ebert wasn't a huge fan.
But he liked it.
He liked it.
I don't think I know anybody who doesn't like this movie that's seen it.
We had so many people tell us like, "Oh, yeah, I like this movie." When we're
movie's so good.
doing it,
Movie's a classic.
it is a classic.
In a
I
way,
think.
it is.
I think it ended up being a class. Like it's, well, all classics I guess end up being.
Oh wow.
So it was only nominated for 1 Oscar, and it really didn't do much during the award season at all. Like it wasn't nominated for anything really. But it was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, which Marisa Tomei famously won.
Yep.
And the movie is now known as kind of like, I would say, one of the most famous movies of the 90s.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sure.
And it also is applauded by the legal community for the legal accuracy as compared with other courtroom movies of the time.
I would say by comparison, yeah. But in an objective sense, not really.
Right. So a sequel, which was supposed to be Vinny practicing law in England, never came to fruition. But
because they couldn't get Marisa Tomei.
Yeah, they couldn't
she
get
was like,
Tomei.
no.
So then it's like, all right, then why bother?
Yeah.
But there were a few novels that were based on the characters that came out over the last 10 years. Like
really?
Yeah. Like from 2017 to 2023.
Nostalgia culture, baby.
Out. Yeah. Also, very randomly.
Yes, I think I know where you're going with this.
Joe Pesci, he had a full album as Vinny.
He did.
That was called Vincent LaGuardia Gambini Sings Just For You.
Yep.
And he released it in 1998 because Joe Pesci, before he was an actor, he was a lounge singer.
Yep.
And this was his second album.
6 years after the movie came out.
It's a choice. I kind of love it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a movie. It would be like if there was like an album about like 1917, the movie.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of what came out like 6 years ago.
Right. And I was just like, oh, okay. We do, of course, have a couple NJ connections here.
Of course.
Joe Pesci is from Newark.
Yep.
You don't get My Cousin Vinny without Vinny.
Right.
And then the composer, Randy Edelman, he's from Patterson.
Okay.
So
North Jerseyites.
we got some North Jersey people.
Some Union County people.
Exactly.
Patterson, Union County?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Patterson, NJ County.
Let's
Am
see.
Am I right? Passaic.
Darn. So I watched My Cousin Vinny back in the day when I was, I don't know, middle high school, and I always loved it. I'm sure you watched it many times.
No.
Oh, really?
Actually, it was one of those where it was like, oh my God, you gotta watch My Cousin Vinny. You gotta watch My Cousin Vinny. And like I watched it when I was a kid and I was like, yeah, it was okay. Like, and then I got a little bit of this. I think this is my 3rd time seeing it.
Okay.
And then I watched it with you at one point.
Yeah.
Like a few years ago.
I'm sure.
And I was like, yeah, it's good. And then I watched it again this time and I was like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
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 It's not going to set the world on fire.
No.
But Marisa Tomei, I think, is like really great.
Yeah. Pesci's great too.
And so's
Fred Gwynn's
Fred
great.
Gwynn.
Yeah.
So I really like the performance.
We will talk about this. Not a whole lot for Ralph Macchio to do in this movie.
There's really not.
Ebert said the same.
Yeah, poor Ralphie.
I'm a Macchio head, I would say.
He's good.
He's good in like other things besides Karate Kid stuff too. Like he was really good in Entourage.
There you go.
He plays himself and he has like a feud with Johnny Drama.
Yeah.
And like Johnny Drama always talks about like beating him up, but it's like, no, he's a Karate Kid. You can't beat him up. Like he knows karate. Like it's like a stupid little like
That's
running
cute.
thing. Like Macchio's good.
Was he good in Cobra Kai?
He's great in Cobra Kai. But he fits the show. You know, like I wouldn't put him in like
AKA you're saying that the show is a little not
it's
great.
like soapy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like I wouldn't put him in
Succession.
Right, exactly. I wouldn't put him up against Jeremy Strong. But
who we're going to see on Broadway soon.
we are going to see Jeremy Strong.
Hopefully, because when we go it's
Yeah.
like a day that like could be a maybe off day for people, and it's a matinee, so I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. We're going to see it's Strong and Imperioli.
Oh man.
We get to see
performing Henrik Ibsen.
Yeah, doing an Ibsen adaptation.
It's not exactly something that I would go see if it were not Jeremy Strong and Michael Imperioli.
No, but I'm always down for theater. Why not?
Yeah.
It's part of the fun.
We
And
haven't
Victoria Pedretti.
We haven't been since pre-COVID, right? Since Hamilton?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was like
it's been a minute.
2019 or was it 2020 that we went? Early 2020.
Early 2020. It was right before.
Yeah.
Right before. It was right at the end of the end times. Beginning of the end times, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So that's what I got from My Cousin Vinny. Not too much, actually.
No.
about it. Some movies they got this whole thing. This doesn't. There's a lot in the legal accuracy section, but that was boring to me. So
yeah, I don't really have much about that. I
Yeah.
can talk about it as we go on, but
Sure.
it's nothing super deep to get into.
Right.
So I'm going to do taglines first.
Oh, good.
They're all strange.
All right, let's hear it.
One of them, okay, a comedy of trial and error. Okay.
That's cute. I like that.
That's fine.
I like that one.
There have been many courtroom dramas that have glorified the great American legal system. This is not one of them.
I don't really understand that one.
What do you mean? That's the one that's on the poster.
Yeah, but I think that it actually shows like a good thing about the American justice system. I think it's pro-American justice system.
I think it's supposed to say like he's a bad lawyer at the beginning, and also they're trying to put these two guys in jail, and they would have done it if not for what happens in the movie.
Yeah, but I like the idea that he's practicing law as he's going and improving, and he's coming into his own, and that's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not really. It's just, is this going to get you?
I think it's a terrible title.
It's going to get you into the movie.
Whatever.
Truth, Justice, and the Gambini Way.
I kind of do like that one.
And the last one, Rambo, Terminator, Indiana Jones, Vinny Gambini.
Like saying what?
First of all,
they're not all heroes.
Those first two things are not all heroes. Well, I guess Terminator 2 had just come out, so the Terminator is a hero by 1992. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand.
What do they have in common? I'm confused.
I don't understand it. They save people. Does
Okay.
Rambo save anybody? I don't know if
I don't know. Is
I don't know
Rambo
who
even
Rambo
a
saves.
hero?
He's the protagonist. I've never seen the
So they're
Rambo
just
movies.
naming 4 protagonists from recent movies.
They're naming like
That's the
action
tagline?
stars, and then Vinny Gambini.
Oh, I guess they're saying he's an action star.
But he's not.
But it's funny because it's a comedy.
I guess. I mean, he was in Lethal Weapon 2 right before this.
Yeah, that tagline's not good.
That's a bad
but
one,
it's
right?
kind of iconic.
Like you could put anybody as that fourth.
Literally.
Okay, now I'll move on to the plot summary. New York friends Bill Gambini, played by Ralph Macchio, and Stan Rothenstein, played by, what's the actor's name again?
Who knows?
Okay. Driving the scenic route to Southern California, where they will be attending college, or in rural Alabama when they are pulled over by the police. Thinking they'll be charged with shoplifting because Bill accidentally stole a can of tuna, they confess to the crime when questioned by Sheriff Farley. They find that they are instead charged, in their confession, of murder and accessory to murder of the store clerk, with witnesses claiming to have seen 2 young men driving away from the store following gunshots, they and their vehicle fitting the description given by the witnesses. With Bill's mother back in New York, the only person they know to call, they're advised to have Bill's cousin, Vinny Gambini, played by Joe Pesci,
I'll call my cousin Vinny.
represent them. A stereotypical brash Italian Brooklynite, middle-aged Vinny only recently passed the bar after, was it 13 tries? Or
I don't
something?
think so. I think it was 6.
Or 6 tries, and is a personal injury lawyer with no trial experience. Regardless, Bill has faith in Vinny because the Gambinis are experts in arguing.
There you go. That's funny.
Vinny is even more of a fish out of water than Bill or Stan, viewing the Deep South as backward and corrupt, but also in the courtroom, especially in Vinny's dealings with uncompromising Judge Chamberlain Haller, played by Fred Gwynne. Still, Vinny knows the importance of what he's tasked to do. Added to the mix is Vinny's equally brash girlfriend, Mona Lisa Vito, played by Marisa Tomei, who wants to help in any way she can, as Vinny has told her they will get married after he wins his first case.
Yeah, and they've been together for 10 years, and it's like a whole... Like, he graduated from law school 6 years ago.
Vinny is always putting her to the side and wanting to prove his mettle as a lawyer on his own. And while the trial initially goes poorly because of his lack of experience and decorum, eventually he does start to put some things together. Lisa, who has been looking through Vinny's law books in her spare time and who is an expert in cars from working at her dad's mechanic shop, helps Vinny figure out a key piece of evidence in the case. Little by little, Vinny chips away until he finally puts Lisa on the stand to testify that the tire tracks in the crime scene photo could not have come from Bill and Stan's car. It's then revealed that men matching the description of Bill and Stan were arrested in Georgia in a stolen car matching the tire tracks and with the murder weapon. Bill and Stan are exonerated as Vinny earns the respect of the prosecutor and judge, and he and Lisa drive off bickering about their future wedding.
Yeah.
My Cousin Vinny.
Fun movie.
Yeah.
Really good one. And I legit think that the last half an hour makes a great movie.
It is great.
I think the first...
It is very of the time. It's an
Yeah.
extremely early 90s movie.
Yeah. And like, I do feel like there's it's fine. The movie is fine when it's like, haha, they're in Alabama, fish out of water.
When he's like fighting the guy at the bar for the $200.
Yeah, ha ha, whatever. And him and Marisa Tomei are fun and like whatever. But I really think it hits its stride in that during all the courtroom scenes, but especially that last one. And that's what elevates it for me, besides the performances, into a really great movie.
You don't like when he gets mud all over his suit, and then he has to wear the tuxedo to court.
It's funny, but yeah, it's very early 90s. So let's go there. What is your favorite? Let's go there.
We're gonna go there with My Cousin Vinny.
What's your favorite and least favorite thing about this movie?
I don't think you really beat the chemistry between Pesci and Tomei, or Pesci and Gwyn for that matter.
Yes.
I think that the movie would not have been. As I mentioned earlier, we'll get to the casting, but I don't think this movie is as good with a different cast.
No.
Pesci just being that, like, when we're talking about like Italian American actors, that like that whole like clan of Italians, Pacino, De Niro, Pesci, like all the Goodfellas people, all like those Scorsese type actors. Pesci is the one that I think is the best for this role.
For sure.
Because he is the one that you don't, not that you don't take him seriously, but he's so good at being comedic in a jokey way. Like De Niro is funny in a straight man way, like in Meet the Parents and stuff like that.
Right.
Pacino is funny in a whack job way.
Right.
But neither of those types of roles, Leota is crazy and was crazy. His characters were crazy when they were funny. Like in Many Saints of Newark, the first Leota role, he plays a dual role. The first one, he's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
He's better at those types of roles. But Pesci, I think you get, there's something with Pesci that is just like so, I don't know, it's really hard to describe.
Well, what I think it may be, for me at least, is that he feels like he has to be in the roles that, like, I think of like Goodfellas and whatever. In this one, he feels like he has to be this tough guy,
right?
And has to prove himself as this tough guy and be funny and whatever, to kind of mask the insecurities of not being this, like, typical Italian dude that he's surrounded by, whatever. So, like, you think about Goodfellas with the, like, how am I funny? How am I funny? How am I funny? Yeah. And then, here, where he's trying to fight these, like, really humongous men at the bar and whatever. I think that it's that little bit of a, you call it the Napoleon complex or whatever, where he is feeling like he has to prove himself, which is, as New Jerseyans, not too much of I mean, it's a stereotype, but it's like, you see that a lot with New Jersey Italians.
Yeah.
That kind of need the fake masculine,
the accent.
I'm tough. Which always cracks me.
Come at me, bro.
It always cracks me up.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. That's basically what I was trying to get at. He's good at the plucky underdog style role, which is exactly what you need.
Yeah, plucky underdog, like in Goodfellas, when he then shoots Michael Imperioli.
Right. Spider.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and then with Gwyn, you have the total opposite of that.
So tall, Mr. Munster.
Yeah, Herman Munster. He's just got that like booming voice. He's got the judge sort of gravitas to him, which is it's a perfect clash for
he is the
Vinny.
Perfect judge.
Yeah. And then if you do Vinny and Lisa, I mean, Marisa Tomei, she is a plucky underdog as an actress. Like she's not a super experienced actress at this point in her career. And she's super young. She's in her 20s. And she's like 26 or something.
Yeah.
And she just plays off well, putting Joe Pesci in his place as like that sort of like overbearing, super kind of like confrontational almost fiance.
Yeah. What about your least favorite thing about the movie?
There's not a lot to care about. Like you know how it's gonna end. Like Ralph Macchio's not getting the chair.
Right.
Like it's just not gonna happen.
Right.
There's no real stakes. The stakes is Vinny gonna succeed, or is Lisa, or are they gonna succeed in this case and in their lives? Like it's not really about the trial, in my opinion, and that's fine. But I don't know. It sort of takes the movie's 2 hours, which is fine. It was okay. It kind of makes like half of it if not more than half of it, kind of like, all right, let's get to the next bickering part, or let's get to the next, Vinny and the judge going, exchange. So I just don't think that there's anything in this movie that I care about as I'm watching it.
Interesting. What I like about this movie, besides what we've already talked about, is there's some things that are not. You would think that everything in this movie is just like said explicitly, and it's not. Like, I like that there are subtle ways that show you that these kind of stereotypes, maybe that Vinny had about the South, or that maybe the people in Alabama had about Vinny and Lisa, are not always true. Some of the things are true, right? Like, some of the stuff that you see are what you would expect. But then you have Judge Gwynn, who has a Yale...
Judge Holler.
Judge Gwynn, yeah. Who has a Yale thing and takes the law seriously, right?
Yeah.
You've got Lisa, who is undoing expectations as she's proving herself as a witness
With the mechanic knowledge.
information and knowledge that she does, right? So you have these like things that aren't just like being like, wow, it's not so bad here. Oh, look, he's smarter than I thought. Like, you're not having those things. It's a little bit under the surface, which I like. There's an anti-death penalty message in the movie, which is an interesting thing in the early 90s.
Because we looked it up, like still like 37 states had the death penalty, I think.
Yeah, so it's interesting that kind of political message was strewn throughout the movie, but not explicitly. Like them saying, this is why I hate the death penalty, right? Like, that's not in that. And I like that about the movie, especially because it's one where the obvious jokes sometimes are told and they're right there, but there's stuff under the surface. I think that's pretty cool. Least favorite, yeah, I mean, it's what you said. I think that, like, that in between stuff, again, it's not bad.
No. I like the movie. Like I said, it's
fun.
a good movie. Yeah.
It's just, not.
You know what you're gonna get.
Pretty
formulaic.
Exactly. But like I said, I love that last half hour. I think it's really good.
It's well done.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Right, exactly. Do you wish there would have been a sequel?
No.
Why?
You know this. We're like generally anti-sequel unless there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
There's no reason for a sequel to this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I would worry about like more of the in-between stuff in this one.
Especially if there was no Marisa Tomei.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me?
And there'd be no Fred Gwynn either.
Yeah, presumably.
So it would just be Vinny.
Yeah.
In England.
Singing to you, maybe.
Maybe actually that doesn't sound that bad. It actually sounds kind of fun.
But the funny part would be them being able to kind of explore the British legal system.
That's what I'm thinking.
All
right. I think that a trilogy would not have been bad. You got My Cousin Vinny. You got My Cousin Vinny in London. And he has to like learn the differences and like its mishaps abound. And then the final one, they come back to New York City. Yeah. He's on the home turf. And he's the one that's getting in trouble.
Trial.
Yeah.
He's got to represent himself.
Yeah. I think that we could have done that.
Joe, I know you're mostly retired. But you can reach out to us if you're interested in these ideas.
I don't think that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's got to be necessary, and I think these are necessary.
I actually think I convinced myself that these sequels are needed.
But in reality, I think it would have turned out like a Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde.
Oh yeah,
situation.
or Miss Congeniality 2, Armed and Fabulous.
Yeah. Those types.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because the big thing at the end with Marisa Tomei and the knowledge and the oh my gosh moment is very reminiscent of the Legally Blonde one, or I guess the Legally Blonde one is reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
And the Legally Blonde one, it's fun. There's a little twist on it because it's all about hair care, which is something that only Elle Woods would know.
Right.
Which is a really, really fun one. And I also really loved that part in Legally Blonde. I guess I like the big courtroom moment.
The extremely unrealistic gotcha moments.
Yes,
that don't occur at any trial in real life.
I love it. It's all awesome. Yeah, same with A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
The big moment. You can't handle the truth. That's the best.
Which was right around this time. That was 1992, right?
Yeah. So I love all that stuff. All right, let's see what else I got here.
Another New Jersey guy, Nicholson.
That's right. Yeah.
He's in the New Jersey Hall of Fame.
Oh,
Pesci, I'm sure, is
do
too.
they have a museum?
I'll look it up. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to ask why you think this is such an enduring movie, and do you think it is everywhere, or is it just because we live where we live?
I think it's a millennial movie, millennial and above.
Why do you say that?
Because everyone that I know that I've seen talk about it is either around my age or older, or like watched it on home video when it came out. I feel like it was a big VHS movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has the staying power. Like, I don't know if people are out there talking about this. Like, they would even talk about A Few Good Men, which I don't think is that enduring either.
Right.
But everybody knows you can't handle the truth.
Right.
I don't know if this movie has that moment that people are still talking about today. It doesn't have a big director. It doesn't have a big writer.
No.
Pesci's been out of the spotlight for a long time.
Right.
Tomei pokes around, but she's more known probably at this point for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I just don't think Machio faded. Like, I don't think that this movie has anything in it that...
But then why is it so popular still?
Because people like us and people we know, especially living in the New York area, watched it growing up.
Mm.
And I think that's why it's a nostalgic movie for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't necessarily think that Gen Z is out there, being like, the Utes? What do you mean the Utes?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that they're really out there doing that too much.
Okay, but maybe for Marisa Tomei's outfits in the movie.
Maybe. She's
a style icon.
I wrote that her first day of court attire is unmatched.
She is a style icon. And then that leads me to my last question. Did Marisa Tomei, did she deserve the Oscar?
I don't think I've seen any of the movies that she was up against.
I have not seen any of them.
Do you remember what they were?
Yeah, one with the only one that I saw that I was like, I know that is a movie is Howard's End.
Oh, okay.
And it was like Miranda Richardson was up and Vanessa Redgrave, and then there was no performance that I was like, oh yeah, definitely that should have won.
So it was a strange year in general. I'm looking at it now. The best supporting actress, she won. It was Miranda Richardson for Damage, which was a Louis Malle movie starring Jeremy Irons. Never heard of it. Vanessa Redgrave for Howard's End. Joan Plowright, I don't even know who that is.
Right.
For Enchanted April, which was a Mike Newell British movie.
Okay.
Which Miranda Richardson was also in.
Oh, interesting.
And Judy Davis for Husbands and Wives, which is Woody Allen.
Okay.
So I can't really compare her to those, but thinking in like an objective sense, I don't think she's a bad Oscar winner.
No.
I think that she's key to the movie. She's definitely a supporting part. I don't know. I think she's great.
I agree. I would make because here's the thing. There's this conspiracy theory,
which I'm going to get. I have later too.
Okay.
That's a deep dive, but we'll talk about it. We'll just talk about it now.
So the conspiracy theory is that Marisa Tomei didn't actually win the Oscar and that they accidentally said that she was the winner.
It was, who was the person who was announcing the award? I forgot. I actually, my deep dive was going to be from a Snopes article about it. So I'll just do that now.
Yeah.
Jack Palance.
Who, I guess he was old.
I guess. So I have a Snopes article, and it's a fact check, and was Marisa Tomei awarded an Oscar by mistake? It was published in 2000, so this has long been been discussed. Rating, false.
It is false.
It is false.
You heard it here, not first.
The claim was that Marisa Tomei was awarded the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1993 because Oscar presenter Jack Palance read the wrong name by mistake. So it says, there was perhaps no darker horse in the 1993 Academy Awards race than actress Marisa Tomei. She was a relative newcomer to feature films who was matched up against veteran actresses such as Joan Plowright and Vanessa Redgrave. So not long after Tomei unexpectedly claimed the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, rumors began to circulate that it was all a mistake.
So messed up.
And that the real winner was supposed to have been Vanessa Redgrave. But
why? Because she was old?
I don't know. But presenter Jack Palance had erroneously called out the wrong name because he was unable to read the printing on the card inside the envelope, became confused, or was too drunk to announce the winner properly.
Rude!
Different versions of the rumor claimed that Palance had either arbitrarily announced Tomei as the winner or had called out her name because it fell last in the list of nominees and was the only one that had not yet scrolled off the teleprompter screen. Then, once the mistake had been made, the Academy had no choice but to award the Oscar to the person whom Palance had just announced as the winner to a global television audience. To do otherwise would have created an embarrassing controversy.
No.
However, video of that year's Academy Award telecast showed nothing of the sort had taken place. Palance plainly read Tomei's name off the card in the envelope in front of him. He was neither ad-libbing nor looking at the teleprompter when he announced her as the winner. Moreover, nothing about these rumored scenarios could have possibly been true. As the Academy has explained many times, 2 officials from the accounting firm of Price Waterhouse have been stationed in the wings at every Academy Award ceremony since 1953, just in case a situation should arise. If a wrong name were ever read, one of the officials would immediately step up to the podium and announce the correct winner, which of course happened in 2017.
Which it happened way after this article was written.
They actually wrote, so it must have been edited. When the award for Best Picture was erroneously announced as La La Land rather than Moonlight.
That is so crazy.
Price Waterhouse, which we will do one of those movies someday and talk about that.
Yeah.
Price Waterhouse issued a statement apologizing for the mistake, and the mix-up was immediately rectified during the broadcast. Additionally, Palance simply could not have read the wrong name from the teleprompter screen because the winners' names are never displayed there. During every "and the Oscar goes to" point in the ceremony, the teleprompter displays only the stage and directions of envelope and announce winner to the presenters. This process both ensures that presenters have to look down and examine the contents of the envelopes before announcing winners, and it helps guarantee the secrecy of the results. Moreover, it's clear from the video clip of this sequence that Palance wasn't looking at a teleprompter when he announced the winner. He clearly was reading from the card enclosed in the official envelope. In early 1994, this rumor was being spread, according to The Hollywood Reporter, by an unnamed, quote, former son-in-law of a distinguished Academy Award winner. By 1997, film critic Rex Reed, promulgator of the theory that Palance was drunk, was espousing on television that his claim that a massive cover-up was underway to prevent the public from finding out about the mistake. However the rumor started, it was undoubtedly inspired by Palance's rather strange behavior at the previous year's ceremonies, and fueled by the belief that both Tomei's talents and her role in My Cousin Vinny were too slight to merit her winning an Academy Award over the efforts of established actresses in, quote, serious films who were also nominated in the category. So, eat it.
There you go.
Marisa Tomei won the Oscar. Get over it.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, I feel like it's such a slight at Marisa Tomei because, like, they don't think that she was good enough. But she is good enough.
It's an old boys club situation.
Yeah. And in fact, she is now a 3-time Oscar nominee. And I've seen all 3 of her Oscar-nominated performances.
The Wrestler and what else?
In The Bedroom.
She was nominated for that?
Yeah, I think so.
No, I think you're right.
And she is lovely in all of them.
She's an icon.
Amazing in The Wrestler.
She's an icon.
The Wrestler is one of my favorite movies.
I love The Wrestler.
And she is incredible in it. She's so likable in the Spider-Man movies. She is just lovely. She was so funny in Crazy Stupid Love. She has comedic chops, but she can still pull out the
Wrestler.
The Wrestler, and in The Bedroom, where she is not comedic. And I think that she is an absolute icon. I love Marisa Tomei.
Yeah, justice for Marisa Tomei.
Justice for Marisa Tomei.
Wasn't she in The King of Staten Island also?
She wasn't in King of Staten Island.
Was she his mom?
She played his mom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she's the best.
So that's what I got for you.
What do you think about Vinny and Lisa? Do you think they're going to get married?
I don't know.
Do you think they're going to succeed?
I don't know.
Do you think the kids got it in them?
There's a weird age difference.
There is.
It kind of like, it's played for comedic effect, so it's, but no, I don't think it's gonna work out.
They're a little oil and water to me.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, there's just so many opinions. There's just so
and
many,
they're always fighting.
There's like so many sticking points.
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna happen here when they get married and he comes home from a hard day at the law firm and, like, I don't know, maybe she has a job at a car shop again and doesn't get she said she's an out of work hairdresser.
Out of work hairdresser.
So let's say she's working all day at the shop and dinner's not on the table in the right way, and he's upset about it because he worked 12 hours that day, and there's going to be a lot of arguments.
Well, there was a whole scene where he's mean to her that I was like, I felt like I had to defend Lisa.
Yeah.
Like, out loud.
You did.
I was so mad at him. No, I don't think that they're going to work out.
Well, clearly they didn't, because when he was going to the UK, she wasn't coming.
Yeah, I guess so.
So are there any other movies that you were kind of told were classics when you were a kid like this, that you got older and you kind of found out that they were just, I don't know, they just weren't? Like, they're not like canon style movies.
It's funny because at first I was like, no, I really can't. I did think of one, but I was like, I really can't think of it. And you're like, I can think of 3 from your family alone.
Right off the top of my head.
So I'm excited to know what you're going to say about that. The one that I found out later was Brian's Song.
Yeah.
The way that my dad talked was Brian's Song was the best sports movie ever made. It was a TV movie, I found out later.
Yeah.
It's a TV movie. Like, that's different. It's like a different thing.
Yeah.
So that's the one that I thought of.
Well, the couple that I was thinking from your family are just, one of them you weren't a kid, but Daddy's Home too. Like, if you were a kid,
my dad loves Daddy's Home
if you
too.
were a kid right now, he'd be like, oh, Daddy's Home 2 is the best.
Connell and our second son are going to grow up thinking Daddy's Home 2 is one of the best Christmas movies ever made.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
I kind of like that.
And the other one is just like Christmas Vacation too.
Oh, that is a classic.
It's not a classic.
It's an absolute classic.
No, it's a good movie. Those are the 2 that I thought of for you. For me, I mean, it's like any Italian mob movie.
Yeah.
You get the actual good ones, Goodfellas, Godfather, like those I'm not counting. Those aren't included in this. But then we get to kind of like, I don't know, like the Gotti movie in the 90s, the Gotti movie in the 2010s. No, like all the stupid, at least for, like the Crime Spree, like these like Harvey Keitel movies, like all these movies where it's like this guy was in a really good movie, and then he did this other movie that's also actually great, but it's not great.
Right.
Yeah, so those are a couple that I have. I also was like, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, Field of Dreams. It's like, that's one of the best movies ever.
Pinnacle of cinema.
Yeah. And then we watched it for the podcast, and I was like, this movie's strange, man.
Well, that's what's interesting to me about Field of Dreams. Like that, I feel like we were just incredulous throughout the whole episode that we did on that. Like, so many dads love that movie, and it's a very strange movie. And it's got a lot of things in it that you would think that typical dad movie dads would not be drawn to. But then you also have the just father-son trauma.
Bonding over sports.
And yeah, and so then it makes sense. The daddy issues of it all.
Yeah. Half Baked is another one.
Oh my.
The Chappelle classic.
Again, classic.
Yeah. Space Jam is another one.
Space Jam is a classic.
It is a classic, but if you show it to somebody now who has
Yeah.
no affiliation with Michael Jordan, who is not like a...
We will test that theory in a few years.
We will test that theory in a few years. I feel like, who doesn't really know who Bill Murray is, and Wayne Knight? Like,
yeah, but Bugs Bunny.
I know, but is Bugs Bunny that big nowadays even?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Like, I don't know. We'll have to get a Gen Z person on to talk to us.
Yes.
We're gonna bounce it off them. Yeah, that's a few. I mean, there's a lot of comedies I feel like that are like that.
Oh yeah, any comedy that like you grew up being told, "Oh my god, it's so good," from like the 80s, and you watch and you're like, "This is just racist."
Yeah, a lot of them.
Or
are
like,
that.
"This is just very inappropriate."
Yeah, and I will say that my dad has seen a lot of movies. Like he knows what a good movie is.
Sure, everybody knows what a good movie is.
Yeah, but then sometimes you get Crime Spree.
Yeah, well,
That was more my brother actually, because it was almost like more of like a Guy Ritchie, like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch type movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, my dad had similar vibes there. Let's see.
Justice for Daddy's Home too.
What are your favorite underdog Oscar wins?
So I looked a couple of them up, and honestly, I hate most of the
underdogs
ones like that, where like the surprise Oscar wins, like when Crash won Best Picture over Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, that's
a terrible one.
That's an all-time gaffe.
That is really bad.
The thing I will say about Crash, which we will not be doing on this podcast, presumably ever,
No.
Is that if it didn't win Best Picture, it would just be another movie that everyone forgot about.
That is true.
So it was
also, I agree with that.
It was almost demonized by winning Best Picture.
Yeah, I do feel a little bit bad for like just in general how that movie is now seen as like an awful movie. I don't think it's awful. I think that it's very misguided.
It's very heavy-handed and misguided. Yeah,
misguided. And I think that
there's the idea. I think the intent, the positive intent, is there.
Right.
It just does not bear out on screen.
No, but I agree with you. If it had not won Best Picture,
No one would ever talk about
no one. It would be just like an extremely loud and incredibly close. Like it's
Yeah.
just like one of those. Oh yeah, that's not a good movie. Whatever. But the fact that it beat Brokeback Mountain, which is a beautiful movie,
and which was a cultural flashpoint at the time.
very much so, is a travesty. There's a couple of other ones like that where it's like Shakespeare in Love winning Best Picture. I watched part of it and didn't like it back when I saw it.
What did it beat?
I think Saving Private Ryan.
I think you're right.
And
That
so
was a whole
just like,
big. I read about
okay.
that in the Oscar Wars book. That was a big deal. It was a big
It's a Weinstein movie.
marketing campaign with
Yes.
Weinstein and
Yes.
Spielberg.
Yes.
Uh,
So that's I'm like, but there is one that I saw that I'm like, yes, that's a good one, and it's Roberto Benigni winning
For
Best
Life is
Actor
Beautiful.
for Life is Beautiful.
That's cool. I didn't love the movie, but that's a cool. I like that happened.
Yeah, I really did like that movie. So it's cool. He beat like Hanks, and he beat like a lot of like really. I think Ian McKellen was up that year. Like he beat a lot of different really famous actors for a foreign language film, which is like really really cool.
Going back to Shakespeare in Love, the only good thing that I think came from that, I mean, we don't want Weinstein winning anything, but the only good thing that came from that was it was seen as like a triumph for like independent
film
over studio
Sure.
and big budget and all that. So I think that from that perspective, I could see why people were like, "Oh, that's cool. That's a big win." But
get
from
that.
the Weinstein of it all, and the fact that it's 2024 and many more people remember Saving Private Ryan than Shakespeare in Love.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily age the best in that way, but
I also like a fun surprise nomination. Like, I'm sorry, Andrea
Riseborough.
Riseborough for To Leslie last year cracked me up. How like they used like illegal ways to get her the nomination is iconic. I'm sorry, that is hilarious. And then Laura Linney being nominated for The Savages, which is like such a little scene movie that was really good.
yeah.
Her and Philip Seymour Hoffman together as brother and sister. Like, I really like stuff like that. Moonlight winning over La La Land was great.
That was the moment for me where I was like, all right, I love this.
It's kind of a shame in the way that it was done that it took a little bit away from the power of the movie. Like, I wish that Barry Jenkins would have had that full moment himself, because Moonlight's truly one of the most beautiful movies.
Did he win director or did Giselle win?
No, Giselle won director. So that I hate the way it was done, even though it is an iconic moment in cinema in Hollywood. But like Moonlight winning and kind of getting that victory was awesome.
Counterpoint, had it won and gone off without a hitch, we probably still wouldn't be. Not that we wouldn't be talking about the movie, but it wouldn't get brought up as nearly as much as it does.
100%. And I really loved La La Land too. That was a good year.
Yeah, it was a good year.
So, because Get Out was that year too, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So those are probably
Get Out might have been the following
2017.
year.
Yeah,
Out
it
was
might have been the next
2017.
year. Yeah. What about you?
Parasite is one
Was
of
that
them.
a surprise?
It wasn't a surprise by the time Oscar season rolled around.
Okay.
But the fact that it was a movie all in Korean that has like 10 different genres all in the same movie, that was basically, I would call it an underdog in the sense that it was the favorite from start to finish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that 1917 had a moment that
Yes,
Oscar
it did.
season where
Yeah.
it was before it came out.
Yeah.
And then it came out and it kind of went away.
Yeah.
But Parasite, like, I think 1917 might have won the Globe. But Parasite was,
Well, that's because Parasite could not be up for both
Yeah.
drama and foreign language film.
yeah,
So it won for its category,
right.
and then 1917 won for drama.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Parasite, I think, is just it's the best movie of the decade that year.
I was about to say, like,
Um,
Parasite, they got it right, because Parasite is truly one of the best movies I think ever made.
It's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, start to finish.
Oh, how about Olivia Colman beating Glenn Close, when like Glenn Close was
Oh
nominated
my
for like
God.
75,000 times, and it was like inevitable that she was going to win, and then Olivia Colman won and did a really funny speech. We're not going to talk about Anthony Hopkins winning for The Father though, because that is like
No, that wasn't my. I would never say that was one of my favorite underdog
No.
moments.
That was like so embarrassing.
That was a bad moment. And don't get me wrong, I adored Anthony Hopkins in The Father. He's
It's
a deserving.
It's a lovely performance.
He's a deserving Best
amazing.
Actor winner for that movie.
But the way they set that up, Soderbergh,
Joaquin
what
on
do you do?
stage.
Yeah, it was Joaquin Phoenix on stage. They saved that award for last.
For Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman's widow was there.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, oh, Anthony Hopkins. And he was asleep in Europe and wasn't even there.
It was just a photo of Anthony Hopkins, and then
That
it went
was-
to Joaquin Phoenix standing on stage like he was in Joker, like in.
It was truly the most awkward moment of all time.
I legitimately, we've talked about this before. I can't think of a worse person to be on stage at that point than Joaquin Phoenix. Like a person who would want to be there less in that moment than Joaquin Phoenix.
That was so rough. Maybe this year we'll get another crazy moment.
The only other one I'd say is Rocky.
Oh yeah, Rocky winning Best Picture. That's awesome.
Because it beat, you know what it beat?
French Connection.
No, that was 71.
Mm.
It beat All the President's Men, Network, and Taxi Driver.
Wow.
Yeah.
Honestly, all four are classics in their own right.
That's what I'm saying. Like
it was a great year then.
And all three of those were by notable directors, had big stars in them.
Yeah.
And Rocky, we did it.
Rocky knocked him out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a bunch of good ones. I have no other questions. So, I have two notes other than the first day of court. One, Vinny and Lisa Halloween costume.
I mean, let's wait a couple years after I get this baby out because I can't wear any of those outfits that Lisa's got on. If I play Vinny and you play Lisa, then maybe honestly at this point.
I was gonna say we could chop me off at the knees.
I just don't think that works for us as a couple in general. You
don't think I could do the coiffed hair and the leather jacket?
You have to understand your own expectations and limitations, and I think that it would be the worst idea of all time. Let's just be honest here.
You don't think I could pull off that shit?
Neither one of us could pull it off. You know, me definitely not. I just don't think that that's an option, although I would have loved that. So maybe one day I'll get back on the Peloton after this baby and we'll be able to see. I don't know how you're going to decrease in height by 1.5 feet.
It's gonna be difficult, but I think I can do it.
Okay, we'll see. You know what? We'll set it up as a maybe for Halloween 2026.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
We'll put that in. We'll put it in pencil.
Pencil. Yes. You could be Fred Gwynn, I guess.
Yeah, I could.
And I could probably be the bailiff.
Oh, we didn't talk at all about the prosecutor.
Oh, I could be the prosecutor.
Who is the the villain coach from Mighty Ducks?
Yeah.
He's great.
He is. He's a great actor.
And one thing I love about this is that he's very arrogant and he's very like, oh, this guy's not going to beat me. I'll give him all the files, even though he's legally bound to. But he takes him out hunting. Like, he's just like, he's very smug, but not in the same way that he is in Mighty Ducks. Like, Mighty Ducks, he's a bad dude.
No, he's not. He's not a bad dude in this one.
In this movie, he thinks he has an ironclad case. He thinks he's facing a dumb lawyer who doesn't know what he's doing because he doesn't know what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And he goes into the case, and it's like a tortoise in the hare situation.
Right.
He thinks he's got it locked up. Yeah. And he doesn't. Right. And he was wrong. And he admits that he was wrong. Right. It's not that they even let the case go to the jury.
Right.
Like, he says the state will, withdraw the charges because he knows they're not going to win the case. They shouldn't win the case.
Right.
It's not the truth of the matter that these kids killed the clerk.
And it helps that Vinny already found the killers.
Right, exactly. That's the thing too. I was like, I didn't remember the ending. I was like, how do they make it so that we know that they didn't do it? And it was like, oh, it's because they're already in jail for it, and they had the murder weapon, and they had the car.
Exactly.
My last note was, I love that story about Vinny at the cousin's wedding when he was calling out all the magicians' magic tricks.
Oh, it's so funny.
Like, Ralph Macchio's character was like, yeah, he's really smart. Like we were at a wedding and he was the magician was there and he was pulling cards out from behind. And Vinny was like, you had that there the whole time. Like, you had that in your sleeve. Like, Vinny would be so annoying.
The best part about that story is the fact that there's a magician at a wedding in Brooklyn somewhere in the 80s is like iconic.
Imagine being the magician and you have this guy,
Vinny Gambini,
who just won't stop.
Vinny LaGuardia Gambini.
Vinny LaGuardia Gambini is a great one. It's a great name. Great name. Yeah, Vinny in public, I can't.
Please, you've been there before.
And I can't. All right, Roger Ebert review. As we noted, he liked it, didn't love it. He gave it 2.5 stars out of 4. He opens his review by saying, My Cousin Vinny is a movie that meanders along, going nowhere in particular, and then lightning strikes.
Yeah.
I didn't get much involved in it, and yet individual moments and some of the performances were very funny.
Yes.
It's the kind of movie home video was invented for. Mm-hmm. Not worth the trip to the theater, but slam it into the VCR and you get your rental's worth. Mm-hmm. Later on, he says, we never feel much for or about the two accused prisoners. Machio, who has been effective in The Karate Kid and Crossroads, is used here essentially as a foil. He and Whitfield, the other actor's name, sit at the defense table and look worried, and that's about that. Pesci and Tomei, on the other hand, create a quirky relationship that I liked. Neither one is played as a dummy. They're smart in their own ways, but involved in a legal enterprise they are completely unprepared for. Tomei's surprise appearance as an expert witness is a high point, and left me feeling I would like to see this couple again, maybe in a screenplay that was more focused.
Once again, Roger Ebert, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah. It's a good movie. Could have been better.
Yeah.
And
he's spot on.
Yeah. Tom's top 5 trivia and casting.
Woo.
Let's see here. Number 1. Near the end of the trial, Sheriff Farley informs that 2 boys who fit the defendant's description were arrested 2 days ago by Sheriff Tillman in Jasper County, Georgia. Sheriff Mac Tillman was actually the real-life sheriff of Jasper County at the time, where much of the film was shot. And this line was a hat tip to him for the assistance he provided to the producers.
That's really nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I was wondering if Georgia was because they filmed there, if it was shout out.
Number 2. The misunderstanding between Vincent Gambini and Judge Haller regarding the 2 Utes was in fact a real conversation between Joe Pesci and director Jonathan Lynn. Lynn, who was British at first, had a hard time understanding Pesci's pronounced New York accent. He decided that the routine was funny and put it in the film.
Love that.
So it's basically like Pesci's cross-examining one of the people, and he's like, "Did you see the 2 Utes when they came out of the store?" And Judge Haller's like, "What is a Ute?"
Yeah.
And they do like a little back and forth. 3. The quote, "dead on, balls accurate," is a reference to an actual attorney named Joey Callow, from whom the name Jerry Callow / Gallo is borrowed. So Jerry Gallo was one of the fake names that Pesci gives the judge. And then he's like, there is no, the Jerry Gallo is dead.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I said Jerry Callow.
So silly.
Yeah. Number 4. During the recess, while Vinny and Lisa are in the restaurant discussing Lisa's photos, in the background, what drives by but a mint green convertible with a white roof?
Fun.
Which is the whole car. Number 5. In his 2014 autobiography, The Filthy Truth, Andrew Dice Clay wrote that the film was originally developed as a starring vehicle for him at Fox.
That's what I saw.
After the failure of The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, 1990, the studio severed ties with him. A planned Christmas release of his concert film, Dice Rules, was canceled, and he lost the role of Vinny. Reflecting on the fallout in his book, Clay says, "Anytime it's on, I say to my kids, isn't it amazing that I was supposed to do that movie? If I wasn't going to do it, to have Pesci play the role was incredible. I don't get mad at that stuff. That's show business." And then casting. Stan, the other kid, Will Smith auditioned.
Yep.
Which would have been interesting.
And Ben Stiller auditioned for the Ralph Macchio part.
Yeah, I think they ultimately decided that to have a black man and a Jewish man on trial in Alabama would have been too prickly for them to to deal with.
To wade into for sure.
Yeah. So they chose an Italian guy.
Right.
Well, I guess the one guy, Stan, was Jewish because his name was Rothenstein, right, or something.
Yeah, but I think maybe the combination,
Yeah.
since Ben Stiller would have been for Ralph Macchio's part.
Right. The judge, Christopher Lloyd, was considered.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and he had already been a judge. He'd been Judge Doom, or he
That's
was
right.
going to be the following year in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, no, it was early. I think that was earlier.
Was it? Oh, it was 88.
Yep.
I don't know why I thought it was 93. Lisa, Lorraine Bracco was first choice.
Sure.
Coming off Goodfellas.
Yep.
And
Makes sense.
Debbie Mazur was considered.
I could see that too.
Yes. Tomei's the right call. All of these are the right call, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
All of these roles. I mean, Ben Stiller and Will Smith, the roles aren't...
That would have been fine. Yeah.
the roles aren't,
right.
anything crazy. For Vinny, Jim Belushi turned it down.
Oh, interesting.
Other people considered who didn't really get close to getting the role were Peter Falk, Robert De Niro, Danny DeVito, and John Lovitz.
Yep.
They decided against Falk and Lovitz because they wanted an Italian American. And then I think they just thought Pesci was the right. First, it was Jim Belushi, but the reason he didn't take this is because he was already attached to A League of Their Own, which he ended up not doing, and Tom Hanks ended up doing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he didn't do either of these classic 90s movies. That's another one where it's A League of Their Own.
Mm-hmm.
Such a great movie.
It is a good movie.
But it's when you grow up and you're like, oh, it's A League of Their Own. It's a good movie.
Well, all this is according to Jim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so that's casting. There's a lot of interesting what ifs casting wise in this movie.
Yeah, that I found to be very interesting.
Because this might have put Ben Stiller into a lead, if he was in this movie, which blew up later on, like he might have been bigger earlier.
Right.
Will Smith even.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't really huge, I guess, until I don't know. I mean, he was
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
True, but he was big at the time of Independence Day already. So he only had a couple years in between those, so he might not have affected his career that much. But Stiller probably would have been bigger earlier.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's trivia. I think that's all I got on My Cousin Vinny. So does My Cousin Vinny make Baby's First Watch List?
Yeah.
It does, and he watched some of it with us, which was a little inappropriate. But
listen, we had to finish it somehow.
We did. This was a crunch for us. But yeah, so thank you for listening to My Cousin Vinny. We hope you enjoyed. And if you haven't seen our post yet on Instagram, our movies for this month, our episodes for this month, are going to be, we have this one, My Cousin Vinny, which you just listened to. Next week, we will not have a movie, but we'll be having Uncle Nick P back on to talk about the Oscars, which are this Sunday. That episode will come out Wednesday, so it'll be a day late.
Yeah, and we're going to make our predictions. I'm so scared I'm going to lose.
Yeah, stay tuned to our Instagram because we're going to be putting up some of our thoughts on the Oscars beforehand.
We've got 1.5 Best Picture nominees left.
Yep, and then
and then one more acting nominee left.
We have half of Zone of Interest left. We have Poor Things
left,
and then
Color Purple.
Color Purple.
Yep.
So then after that, we're going to do another. All right, so back in 2022, we did Falling for Christmas, which was the Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie that she made with Netflix.
Yep.
And she's coming out.
Cord Overstreet.
Cord Overstreet. She has another one coming out.
I can't wait.
Another Hallmarky type movie that we're going to be doing called Irish Wish.
I think it looks really good.
It comes out March 15th, and it's on Netflix.
Just in time for St. Patrick's Day.
It stars Jane Seymour.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Ed Spielers.
Okay.
And Aisha Curry. Oh,
wow. Aisha Curry's in it. She's not an actress, is she?
So here's the little blurb. When the love of her life gets engaged to her friend, Maddie puts her feelings aside to be a bridesmaid at their wedding in Ireland. Days before the wedding, Maddie makes a spontaneous wish for true love, only to wake up as the bride-to-be.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
this is gonna be so good, Tom.
That's what we're gonna be watching in 2 weeks.
Lindsay Lohan, we love her. We'll watch her in anything.
And then we're gonna end the month with Uncle Nick P will be happy to hear about this. We will be watching the first Mission Impossible.
I've seen it.
I've never seen it.
I know, but it's like, oh, Aaron hates it. Well, I've seen it.
Who said Aaron hates it?
Everyone thinks I hate Mission Impossible.
No one said that.
I don't hate it.
You just keep saying no to doing it for the podcast.
Because it's like, okay, it's just like an action movie.
Mission Impossible, baby. That's how you hype things up. That's how you hype your content.
I'm just like, okay.
So that's what we got going on this month. And we're going to be guesting on some podcasts pretty soon. So we'll keep you guys updated.
At least you will. I don't know if I will.
Yeah, we'll see how you're feeling.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a maybe.
Yeah. So we will be keeping you guys updated on that on Instagram. So follow us there and keep liking our reels and stuff and TikTok clips and all that.
Yeah.
So we will see you next week for our Oscars wrap up.
Oh, I'm excited.
See ya.
Bye.